Time for episode 6, how to cope with the emotions of going through cancer treatment. So we're going to cover a couple of things. Why are we feeling this way? How important is it to feel in control? What are we feeling? What are our normal reactions to this? Versus having a mental problem, quote unquote? And also thinking about how to deal with past feelings and future concerns. So control is key. That's the bottom line. It turns out, in my experience of doing this for over 20 years in different kind of health settings, that it's not so much about whether you get dealt a good card or a bad card, whether you have a good cancer or a bad cancer. You can have stress with a stage 0 and you can be relaxed with a stage 4. It really has more to do with how much control you feel in how you're confronting or managing those illnesses, the injury, whatever the issue is. In this case, cancer and cancer treatment. And if you feel like you have control, you're going to feel less distressed, less overwhelmed, less anxious. So this question, am I doing the best I can with what I've got right now to make the most out of today? That's a question I encourage all my clients to ask themselves as a way of bringing their focus and their attention back to the thing they have the most control over. But let's take it one step at a time. Am I doing? The first part of the question. This is really focused on helping you remember you're still in charge of you because you're the one doing your life. That is what you have done in the past. That's what you're doing right now. And that's what you're going to do all the way through. And that's important because that doesn't change. Likewise, the best I can is also true. That hasn't changed. You still have your core strengths. You weren't a slacker before. You're not a slacker now. Keeping your character traits, they don't change over time. And so the first two parts of the question, am I doing the best I can, are the part of the question that's geared toward helping you remember you're still the same person you have been before. That's your bedrock. Our core values, actually our core strengths and our aptitudes, attitudes sometimes, they get formed really early on in life. And they don't change, even when we're going through tough times. Tough times like cancer treatment, for example. And that's part of this process, is to remember when it feels like your life's been turned upside down or turned upside down again. And sometimes with cancer treatment, it can feel like it gets turned upside down on a regular basis. Well, it's important to know that your bedrock core values, they're not going to change. The third part of the question, though, well, yeah, that's really different. And it's going to be different from what it used to be before you got diagnosed. And it also is going to be different as you go through the process. There are going to be good days and bad days. There are going to be times when the treatment hits you hard and other times when you feel like you really got a handle on it. It's going to vary. And what's normal for most people is to have thoughts like, gosh, I used to be able to do this or that, or I could go all day and not get tired, or I didn't have to worry about these things. Yep, that's how it used to be. But if that's our only expectation, if that's our only way of judging ourselves, well, then we're going to feel pretty beat up sometimes. It's kind of like me saying, when I was 20, I could stay out all night and work all day and didn't feel any pain. That's not actually true, but that's kind of how I remember it. Well, what's actually honestly true and in common while you're going through treatment, and it doesn't matter whether it's chemotherapy or radiation or post-surgery or whatever, is your energy level is going to ebb and flow. It's going to come, it's going to go. There are going to be some days when you feel like you have 80%. There are going to be some days when you feel like you have 20%. And then there are honestly probably going to be some moments when you feel like you only have 20%. So that's part of it, right? Is recognizing that on the days when you have 80%, you can expect yourself to give 80, but not more. On the days when you only have 50%, expect yourself to give all 50. But again, not more. And then on those rare days or those periods of treatment when you feel like you only have 20%, well, that's all you can give. An 80% day, you know what? That's going to look kind of normal. You're up, you're out doing stuff, you're doing errands, you're seeing folks and friends for lunch, you're going to work, whatever. No one's going to notice. But you'll know you don't have maybe the extra 20% you usually did. A 50% day is maybe, well, you know what? I think I'll stay home today and I'll work from home, or I'll do tasks around the house, but I really don't feel up to going into work or seeing friends at the grocery store or going to church. I got to just lay low. And 20%, that's just streaming videos on YouTube and cat videos and drinking tea and having comfort food. You're just crashed out. The important thing about these varying degrees, whether it's 80 or 50 or 20, is that you're the international expert on you. Remember how we talked about that and you're the expert on your care? Well, it's true here too. You're the international expert on you. You're the only one who knows whether you have 20% or 50% or whatever. So that's important for two reasons. One, when you think about it for yourself and you think, am I really doing the best I can? If you give yourself credit for the fact that your body's going through a fairly significant medical treatment, then you won't feel as disappointed in yourself if you recognize that if I have 50%, I'm going to give all 50. No doubt. That's just who I am. The other reason why it's important is when you talk to other people. You may find that people come up to you in the grocery store or out in the community somewhere, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I heard you had whatever, fill in the blank, cancer," right? And you don't know what to say. On the one hand, you could say, "I'm fine, no worries, nothing to see here," but in truth, that's not really true, and they kind of know it, and you kind of know it. The other extreme is to say everything that's going on. Tell them all about your bowel and your bladder and your aches and your pains and where the stitches hurt and all the other things. Well, the truth is you don't want to say that, and honestly, they don't want to hear it. So using this 0 to 100 scale, where 100 is what you used to have and 0 is absolutely nothing, it kind of helps to say, well, you know what? I got 80% today, so I'm feeling pretty good. Or, you know what? I got 20% today, so don't come over. I just need to rest. The 0 to 100 scale seems to help people understand, oh, okay, I get it. I can see how you're feeling. And that helps them adjust how they respond to you. Right now. That's a very important time right now. And the reason for that is that's the only time you have any control. But since we've already diagnosed you as normal, it's very common to think about the past and think about what if. What if I'd gone in for that evaluation sooner? What if I hadn't taken that treatment? What if I had taken that treatment? What if I hadn't worked in that industry? What if I hadn't done whatever? And of course, we can't change the past, but we think about it a lot. The other time frame people go to is the future. What's going to happen next? What if it works? What if it doesn't work? Will I get that job promotion? Whatever. And of course, we can't change the future either. So the past and the future, the two most common times for us to think about, especially in that 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. time slot when we wake up and we can't get back to sleep, well, they have one thing in common: zero control. You can't control the past and you can't control the future. And when we think about them, we feel more stressed out, we feel more anxious, and we feel more depressed. By contrast, here in the moment, you do have control. You're the one deciding what you do. You're deciding where you go or where you don't go. If you're feeling that control in the moment and you can't get to sleep, if you get up and do something else like we talked about in the sleep episode, then you're going to feel less helpless. That's one of the reasons why getting up in the middle of the night and doing a little exercise can help you get back to sleep. because it's something you have control over right then. I always joke that if you can touch it, you can control it. If you can't touch it, you can't control it. Making the most. So, if you bring your best effort, you're going to get the best outcome possible. And your medical team's going to work with you on what that actually looks like. What is the best outcome possible? They're going to help you define that. If you remember to an earlier episode where we talked about goals of care, this is an effort to make that conversation important and make it relevant. You really want to know what you're looking at and how to make your best effort. But in general, my philosophy is we always try to do the best. We always try to make the most out of what we got. That's just how humans are built. So we want you to be able to bring your best effort to help you get that best outcome possible. Today. Your treatment is a day-to-day process. Today's the day you have the most control over. That's why today is such an important day. And I know it's the first day of the rest of your life, yada yada, but it's true that this day is the day you have control over. So, if we think about that whole question all over again, am I doing the best I can with what I got right now to make the most out of today? Well, that's a way of helping you remember you're still in charge of you. You still have your strengths and your attributes and your core values. You do have to adjust your expectations of yourself because it's going to vary by design. That's how the treatment works. But right now, that's the time you have control, and that's what's going to help you bring your best effort to get the most out of today. And if you do that today, you are going to make the most out of today. And if you do that tomorrow, you'll make the most out of tomorrow. Now, I did say we can't predict the future. We can't control the future. But we do know that if we make the most out of each day and we keep doing it, we'll make the most out of this week, this month, this year, this decade. That's how you make the most out of your life. That's true even if you don't have cancer, but you know what? It's really true when you do.